Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Divyanka and I'm a doctor of pharmacy here in the US. On this channel, I'm here to help both you and I live our best and most productive life. Today's video is actually a little different. I got invited to be a guest speaker during the career chat networking part of a networking event. The event was hosted by ISPE, which stands for the International Society for Pharmaceutical Engineering. I'm associated with this organization because I actually started a chapter of ISPE at my pharmacy school because they didn't have one. So I really owe ISPE a lot in terms of my professional growth. And so to pay it back, I wanted to be a part of this event to help students in any way that I can. So I actually got permission to record our talk so I could share it with you guys on my channel. I hope that the talk is kind of like a podcast episode for you guys and is helpful for you. And I hope some of the information and questions we cover in this hour are helpful to you. They had divided us guest speakers into different breakout rooms, and each breakout room had about 2 or 3 guest speakers and a couple of students. So our group had 3 guest speakers and 4 students. I'm just going to go ahead and insert the video now so you guys can go ahead and give it a watch. Definitely be sure to check ISPE out. The links are all down in the description bar below. All right, so I guess we can start. I know we're all supposed to practice our elevator speeches. Both of you were in this together yesterday, correct? Or 2 days ago?
Tuesday, yep.
Oh, okay. So I don't know if you guys have a way that you did it on Tuesday that we can follow. If you
I just started first and then Edie went. Do you want to start? Maybe give an introduction of yourself and then I'll go and then Edie and then we'll just go around the room after that.
Yep, sounds like a plan.
Okay.
So my name is Divyanka and I'm a recent PharmD graduate. That's Doctor of Pharmacy. I went to school at MCPHS in Boston, Massachusetts, and I graduated last year in 2020. Within pharmacy, my interest really lies on the industry side of things. So right now I work in the day as a regulatory writer at Aura, which is a CRO company in Andover, Massachusetts. On the side, I'm really interested in a lot of things, and that creativity kind of leads me to leading my dance brand and my pharmacy brand online. So I really like to share kind of my interests through those. And I can hand off the baton to whoever wants to go next. Nidhi.
Okay. So, my name is Nidhi Maniar. I'm an analytical scientist at Mass Biologics. It's a Boston-based company, a part of UMass Medical School. I'm mostly passionate about research and development of therapeutics, and I have worked in the industry. I've mainly worked in the lab for 6 years, developing monoclonal antibodies. I've led the SARS-CoV-2 project in my company and also submitted that project to WHO and NIAID. So those were some of my accomplishments. And also the Lyme project that we worked on recently has gone through IND submission. So it's soon going to start being injected into patients. So those were the top 2 accomplishments. I'm still sticking to the elevator pitch, and the last point it says was your interest. So I'm interested in some extracurricular activities. I did some rowing with Harvard Club last year and got into some competitions. I also like painting, music. So those were some of the things I enjoy on the side. So very excited to meet you all, and let's go from there.
Sorry. My name is Raymond Luke. I have a bachelor's in biochemistry and then a master's in pharmacology from Northeastern. I graduated in 2017. And recently I left Emulate. I worked there for 3 years. It was a startup company specializing in organ chip technology. Currently, I'm at Coro as a senior associate scientist, and my passion is really understanding mechanism of action. So pharmacology-related experiments. And yeah, I guess I'm the free time I like to exercise, cook, watch TV. I have a more professional elevator speech, but I guess we'll use that another time. Yes, we can. Do we want to go around the room and have everyone give their elevator speech?
Yep.
Or should we give them time to think about it? Or
Either way, you guys let us know. Do you guys need a few minutes, or is someone kind of ready to take us up on this?
You should speak first if you actually have yours.
So I wasn't here yesterday, but I can give it a try.
Yep, go ahead.
My name is Audrey Kadu. I'm currently a student at MCC, that's Middlesex Community College. My major is biotechnology, and I'm currently working as a student employee at MCC. Accomplishments, I won an EPDA scholarship last semester. And yes, and I'm interested in cell work. That's it for me. Thank you.
Welcome. Anyone who up for going next?
I kind of had like a question. So, I'm only in my sophomore year of school. Technically, I'm in my like last year at community college before I transfer. I don't have like my major is bioengineering, but I don't have any like bioengineering applicable accomplishments yet. So I don't know how I would actually like bring that up in conversation without being like, I don't know, I feel like there's like a blank space there where I'm supposed to have something to say, but I don't know what to say.
Have you had any bioengineering classes? Is there anything that was interesting to you that maybe you want to explore further in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I really loved doing like biology, and like I just last week started like a biomanufacturing class that's like very, very interesting. And even just reading the syllabus, I'm really excited about it, but we've only had like 2 classes.
I think that you could add that then. Like, you would be really interested to learn more about this instead.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah, I would just say, like, overall, that you can be kind of very transparent in saying that this is a new interest, and you can bring in other experiences, like if you have any community service or really anything that it doesn't have to be related to your degree per se, but something that kind of speaks to you as a person. So just as a pointer, you don't have to come up with anything right now.
Okay, all right, I'll give it a shot then. Is that okay?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah.
All right, so my name is Megan Costello. I'm a second-year bioengineering student at Great Bay Community College. I've recently started a biomanufacturing class that's very interesting. It combines a lot of my interests in science and biology. I'm a 6-year Navy veteran. I got out in 2018, and it was a field that I really enjoyed being in, but I missed like the math and science aspect, which is what led me to separating so I could pursue a degree.
I think that was great.
Yeah, that was great.
Thanks.
I guess I can go now. My name is Gabby Mazzoni. I'm a junior at WPI, Worcester Polytechnic Institute. I'm studying chemical engineering with a focus in biology, and my main focuses are in research. I did research before COVID with paclitaxel and taxus plants, which was really interesting to me. Outside of school, I really enjoy baking.
That was great. Thank you. So I guess, yeah, I think something that I just wanted to bring up, I mean, we could have an open discussion, but something that Nancy brought up if you guys were there on day one is networking. I think that's an important thing. I think you guys are still early in your college career, so you're not really looking for jobs yet, but definitely networking, whether it's through friends or friends of friends, colleagues, professors, etc. I know LinkedIn is a great tool. So if there's a job that's interesting to you, just seeing who's connected through them and explore that further. Did you guys have any questions that you prepared or something that's you're wondering about?
So my question is, how long have you been in the industry, and how was your first job, the first time you got out of school and like got a job into the career world?
It's a great question. I can start and then you two can go after. So I have a couple years of academic experience in my undergrad as a researcher. And then when I was in grad school, I also worked for a couple years during my master's program. And then my last semester at Northeastern, I landed an internship at Emulate. And so that internship eventually led full time. So I went from intern to associate scientist, scientist 1, scientist 2. And so I was fortunate enough to get that internship to be able to lead into a full-time position. But I think even if you don't land an internship, it's pretty, I think the science engineering field is pretty open right now. So definitely applying to a lot of positions that interest you. And yeah, yes. Yeah.
I can go next.
Thank
So
you.
currently, like I mentioned, I'm a regulatory writer at AURA, which is a contract research organization. If you guys haven't heard of what that is, basically work is contracted out from pharmaceutical companies to these companies that are CROs, and they specialize in one thing or another. So usually it's something in regards to medical writing. But kind of my experience landing up to here was honestly really different at every aspect. When I entered pharmacy school, which is a 6-year program, I started as a pharmacy technician, which most of us do, and quickly I kind of wanted something more challenging, so I actually went into the academic research space, and I did that solely through cold emailing. Usually pharmacy is just not in that space usually. Of course, with some more MD, PhD sort of track, but I got that, and that was just a great look into the other side, preclinical side of things, you know? And so even though that's not a normal thing that a pharmacist would do, I'm really thankful I put myself in that situation because I can kind of have a different perspective on things. So that's the first thing I'll say. As you guys have so much time right now to really gather experiences, and I think that a lot of times we stress ourselves out by needing to think that I need to have, you know, the final picture in mind to know what the perfect steps are to get there. But sometimes just, you know, be curious, just go for an internship that might not be directly, you know, revolving what you think where you're going to end up, but really just go for anything that interests you and challenges you. Like I said, you guys have a lot of time, so definitely make use of that. And then after that, I got interested in the pharmaceutical industry through research. And that led me into medical affairs, which if you hear PharmDs in the industry, usually you hear medical affairs a lot. And so I was kind of training to go into that because that's what most pharmacists do. And I didn't go the fellowship route, which most people do if they are a pharmacist and want to enter the industry. And I ended up as a regulatory writer and ended up liking it so much more than something I think I would like in medical affairs. So that was kind of a turn of events, but looking back, I want you guys to look at that in a way where it's like, you know, if something doesn't work out, it's not the end of the road. So again, you guys have a lot of time, kind of take what everyone is saying here and apply it and just be curious and take up every opportunity that you can.
Yeah, I think going off of that as well is, for example, the Northeastern program, you don't need to do lab work to graduate. It's just coursework. So obviously I was really interested in research, and so I wanted to look at the different labs that Northeastern offered. And so I just emailed a bunch of people and looked at what their research was and what interests me. So I was able to get a position in the lab as a technician. So it was doing small daily tasks, which isn't something that I would want to do every day. But so eventually I became a biology assistant, and then I definitely gained a lot of experience there. So I think being active, if you're looking for something, for a job, to explore it further.
We have Sophie join us. Hi, Sophie.
Hello.
Welcome to the group. So just a little bit of introduction for Sophie. So what we did first was everybody introduced themselves, like gave a small elevator pitch. And now Audrey asked us a question where, how did we transition from school into our first job? Right, Audrey? Am I missing any part of your question?
Yes, that's a question. Thank you.
So we're all trying to answer. So Raymond, Divyanka, and me are trying to answer Audrey's question. So for me, I went to Northeastern too. I did my master's in pharmacology, and what I enjoyed more was networking than online applications. So I used to attend events and conferences in the Boston area, and I was very lucky to be here because there were so many things going on at times. So I was a part of different organization groups and also tried to attend some events around. And I would just go and talk to people just in general that this is my experience. I'm looking for work, and if you mean to know something or somebody who could assist me, please let me know. And through that conversations, I got into a friend, like not a friend now, but like I got into a person who had an opening in a friend's company. So that's how I got my job. So for me, the transition happened via networking because that's what my goal was. And what I would say is take your time. It's going to be a process, but it's going to be how you want the process to be. It could be either stressful or it could be fun. So you choose which way you want to go for it, right? My friends used to enjoy applying because she's like, I'm going to find the best thing for myself. So let me take my time and find myself the best job here. So yeah, I would say don't worry. It's going to be fine. Yeah, we're here also to assist.
Thank you.
So Divyanka and Raymond, I have a suggestion actually. If since today's agenda is like mostly on elevator speeches, what we can do is have like Audrey, Megan, Gaby, and Sophie like present elevator speech again, like slowly, and then we can review it, and maybe we can offer some suggestions or some additions if they would like it.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I'm open to that too, if you guys are interested.
Right, or if you have some other questions that you all want us to answer, that's also fine. So it's totally on y'all. We are here for you to like listen to y'all. So you let us know what y'all want.
Actually, I kind of was curious. You all described like very different careers, and they're all really interesting. And I was wondering if you wouldn't mind maybe going through like a typical workday, if you even have a typical workday, because that'd be just kind of cool to know. Because it just
Sure. I can start. So like I mentioned, I'm a regulatory writer, and that really means a medical writer that's working on documents that are going to any regulatory agencies. So in the US, that's the FDA. So when a company is thinking of making a drug and having it go through clinical trials and getting it approved for going to market, that process is not only long, but along the way, at every point you have to ask the FDA, hey, like this is what we've done so far, are we doing good? And so at every step, that's basically an application, right? So that's like, can I start clinical trials in humans? There's an application for that. This new drug that I've created, here's all the information on the clinical trials we've done. Can we now sell it, right? So those are the type of documents that I'm working on a daily basis for different companies. So my company specializes in ophthalmology, so anything to do with the eye, any eye disease, they're called anterior and posterior disease. That's how the eye is kind of broken up. And so we only do ophthalmology. So all of our clients, it can be, a big pharma client like Pfizer or Regeneron, to small companies who barely have a drug. So they're super new to it. But again, that specialization in ophthalmology is interesting because I know that every day, every project I'm going to get revolves around that. In terms of my day-to-day, I have different projects going on with different clients. So depending on where they are in that drug life cycle, we're working on different projects. And most of the time, it's up to me when I want to work on things, other than the meetings that I don't schedule, that are on my calendar. So other than that, I'm kind of, responsible for the time management of my own documents and all my projects. As long as I get them done and I'm in my meetings, everything goes smoothly. And then that's kind of my day-to-day in terms of the exact science work. But with that comes, I'm facing clients. So there's a project management and clientele side of it. So you really want to make sure your clients are happy. You don't want to make them angry. You want to make sure that they're getting everything they need to. So there's two sides to it. One, the more science, technical writing side, which I enjoy because it's challenging. And the other side, which is getting to know your clients, working with the same people, And I find both sides really interesting. So it's a very different type of career. You don't have to have a PharmD like I do to be in this position. We have writers at my company who have bachelors, we have PhDs, we have PharmDs, we have a variety of masters. So it can really be anyone as long as you have that skill set. Again, you guys are early on, so if that's something you guys are interested in, there's a lot you can do to kind of further that interest. But that's kind of my day-to-day.
I can go next. So I'll just give a little summary of what I did at Emulate, my previous employer, and then Coro, where I'm currently employed. So Emulate is an organ chip company. So their platform is a chip. It's like the size of a USB stick. And so there's 2 channels within the chip, and essentially you can seed cells in this chip to emulate an organ. And so when I started as an intern, I was working on optimizing the intestine chip. And it took about a year to optimize this chip. And then after a year, once it was optimized, we were able to sell it commercially and then have collaborations with pharmaceutical partners. So for example, Takeda was one of the collaborations. And so with their GI discovery department, they're interested in, for example, IBD. So if they're able to emulate IBD on this chip and then test drugs that are therapies for these diseases, then we can use this platform for screening drugs, essentially. So yeah, it was just planning experiments, carrying out the 2-week of the chip culture, and then wrapping up readouts based on the collaboration, whatever Takeda was interested in. And then right now I'm working with Coro Bio, and so their focus is RNA editing. And sorry if I'm getting too scientific, but so Coro's goal is to produce oligonucleotides and use ADAR. So ADAR edits RNA from a base pair change from an A to an I. And so in liver CNS diseases, mutations in these genes, if we're able to produce these oligos that bind to the target mutation, make the change, so then it's back to a healthy cell type. So right now I'm optimizing platforms where we're able to screen these oligonucleotides and eventually bring it up to a high throughput screening platform. And so yeah, my day-to-day activities include planning out the experiments, seeding these cells, including the compounds in these cells, and then running downstream assays. So for example, the main readout for our assay is editing percentage. So obviously you want a high editing percentage to make sure that this base pair change actually occurred in the cell. And yeah, so it's a startup. It's only about a couple years old. And I really enjoy startup companies more than the big pharmaceutical companies. I think it's nice being able to know everyone you work with as opposed to a company that is like 100 people and then you only work within your team. But I think that's preference. Yeah, I guess that's my spiel on my day-to-day activities.
Okay, so for me, mine is a pharmaceutical biotech company where we make medicines, right? So we have a discovery unit and we have manufacturing unit. So I am within the development part, so more about manufacturing. So when the discovery group hands us the medicine, we have 3 groups who take care of the medicine after that. So one group will make medicines at a large scale, like 100 liters. Then second group will purify it, will make a pure product of it. And I am the support group, which will test the medicines to find out if it is as it is supposed to be. Like, is it pure? Is it stable? Is it gonna be stable for a long time? And is it gonna be active when it goes into animals or patients? So I am the person who will test these medicines at different stages of purification to find out how much pure it is. And after it's purified, I will check if it's exactly what it's supposed to be. So once we certify that the medicine is good, it's good to go, we give a signal that, okay, let's send the medicine out to animal studies or to patient studies. So our group is analytical, which will certify that, okay, all good to go, green flag or red flag. That's my group. So for me, the day-to-day will be 80% in the lab testing medicine. So finding out different properties about this medicine, about what is the weight, what is the pH of the medicine, how much is the binding of this medicine to the product, like to the cells of the body. So 80% of my time goes in lab. So mine is a 9 to 5 job. I go in Monday to Friday, 40 hours a week, and it's a non-profit company, so we like kind of stick to the hours. It's very like within the time frame we work, and yeah, basically like testing experiments most of the time, and then 20% is analysis. Like once we do the experiments, we analyze it on the computer and send the results to different groups who need it. And we test two kinds of products. One which are made within the company. In order to make more money, we also manufacture compounds from other companies. So they give us a formula, and we will make it for them, since we have all the machines available in the company. And we will also do contract work. So as Divyanka was saying, it's CROs. So we are also a CRO, but we do our own research too. So it's 80% lab, 20% computer, and that's my day to day.
That was a great question. Thank you for that.
I have a question. I guess, what are your like favorite and least favorite parts about your job?
That's a good question too. For me, it's like, since I worked in the lab today, many times it becomes repetitive, right? It becomes times when the product changes. For example, I'm testing Lyme's disease medicine, then I'm testing HIV medicine, but the process for me would be the same. It would be using UV spectrophotometer to identify concentrations, or using the HPLC to purify to find out if it's a stable product. So it becomes repetitive at times. So that would be like the boring part. But challenging part was when we got a very new product, which was COVID, right? It was different than every product we'd ever tested. That was challenging to me, to find out different new experiments to try and understand the new product. So that was my interesting.
Yeah, I can. So I guess the things that I like most about my job is definitely the science. I think it's really important to be passionate about the research that you're doing, or else you wouldn't enjoy doing it. So I like the work that Coro is currently doing. I think definitely it's going to be big stuff in a couple years. The thing that I currently don't like most about my job is definitely the hours or the work. I know for you guys, probably the first couple years it won't be as bad, but I think once you become more senior, then maybe the hours are a bit long, or you'll have to work the weekends. But at the same time, I don't mind it because I enjoy doing the research. It's all about getting good data. So it's a little bit stressful at times, but there's also non-stressful times as well. It's all about a happy, work-life balance too.
Yeah, it is all about balance, a balance that is never sort of achieved. No, the part that I like the most about my role is the implications of what I'm doing. I feel like when I'm working on an IND project, which is the project to ask for approval to start clinical trials, it's cool to know that once I'm done working on this for it's supposed to take 6 months, let's say, that's going to pay off and let this company start clinical trials. So that's like a cool feeling where, this is going to allow them to continue doing clinical trials or whatever. So I think that's the exciting part. Plus, I don't have as much regulatory and real world experience since I just graduated. So every day is kind of you learn something new, whether it's on this is how I act with my coworker side of things, or, an actual technical part of your job. So I think that just being new in the industry is also a challenge in and of itself. The part that I don't like is, for me, I'm doing a lot of document work. So I feel like it gets really redundant and just nitty-gritty and tedious to do all the little things within Microsoft Word or Adobe and all of those little minor things that you have to do that take up so much of your time. They're essential, you need them done, but you're not using your brain to actually do them, right? So those menial tasks, I feel like, get redundant over time, but that's kind of just part of the job. So
actually, what I noticed is, like, if we are looking at ourselves, like Raymond, me and Divyanka, we actually form 3 different groups in the company, which actually make a company. So yeah. Raymond is the discovery or the early stage part. I am on the development part. So once he discovers, hands it over to me, I will develop the medicine and pass it on to Divyanka, and she will deal with all the clinical and regulatory and say an approval that, okay, let's approve this medicine into people use. So we are 3 different parts of a company. We can actually start a company, guys.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Any other questions? These are great questions. And good job, I guess good on you guys for even being here. Let's start there. It's so early on in your career and asking such great questions. So this is...
Yes, do we not put Sophie on the spotlight? Do we want her to give her elevator speech? If you're ready.
A question first.
Okay.
Do you guys have any like mentors, or what made you guys choose this like aspect in it and like the job that you are doing right now?
It's a great question. I think, a mentor can be anyone, whether it's professional or friends, family, etc. I think one of my good mentors was definitely my brother. He's also a science professional as well, and so he really is what got me into science. And I think just me working in multiple labs, having multiple supervisors, they were also mentors as well. And so every mentor that I've had has taught me a lot, and so it's just fortunate enough to be able to work with those kinds of people. I think having a great mentor is definitely what drives success. So yeah, I think meeting and finding the right people to drive your passion as well.
Yeah, I think Ray just hit it on the nail in terms of it being kind of essential. I don't think that point is driven home as much as it should. It's kind of one of those things that you learn and you're like, I wish I knew that earlier. I think it's very important to have mentors for different things. And I think that, you're not going to have one mentor that's going to be overseeing everything. It's just not possible. You have a fitness coach for a reason. You have a school, study buddy for a reason. They're there for different purposes. So think of mentors like that too. You can have one for, someone you're interested in their career. You can have one who knows you for a while and can really assess you. So I think that's an important thing to keep in mind that I didn't and still kind of have not implemented as much as I should. I feel like that's the only way to kind of grow, and I'm kind of realizing that more and more. So again, you guys are way early on, so use that to your advantage. And kind of just let it happen naturally. And I think the best way to let that happen naturally is, Ray mentioned this, like really networking. And of course, this is a great start, but just opening up your, like probability-wise, the more people you meet, the better chance you have to meet a mentor, right? So in that sense, I got interested in what I'm doing because I started an internship at Celgene, which is a pharmaceutical company that's now BMS, a couple of years ago, and my manager there definitely served as a mentor. He wasn't a pharmacy major, and so he didn't come from that background, but it was just saying those things that normally people wouldn't tell you or teach you in a political setting, in a professional setting. So that kind of started our mentorship and mentee relationship. And it kind of started from there, but it was on me to kind of harbor that relationship also. So, do your half of it. So make sure you're kind of doing that as well. It's really, really important to have a mentor, or more than one, actually. Go ahead.
I totally agree with what Raymond and Divyanka said, like very important. It's, for me personally, like having a mentor was very important in my life. So I've been a mentee since 2016, like for 2 years. And then I've been a mentor for 2 years. And then now again this year I needed some more guidance in my career. So I've again been a mentee. So I have a professional mentor help me through my stages. So I've always realized that if I have some problems in my company, like if I'm having conflicts with my manager, or if I have conflicts with my peers, colleagues, whom can I share? I cannot tell about my manager to my colleagues, nor about my colleagues to my manager. It becomes a very difficult situation. You cannot tell it to your friends or parents because they would have no clue what you're talking about, right, in the company. So at that point, mentor is very important. So I can not disclose the name, but I can tell my mentor that I was having this problem with my boss. Now, how do I solve this? Right? So a mentor will like very confidentially take you through the process, that give options or negotiate, like try to find out a middle ground, something like those to help you overcome these difficult situations at work. And also, I also like realized when I was being a mentee that it took me a year to understand what a mentee is. How to be a mentee is also a role that you grow into. And even when I was like doing a mentorship, like where I was a mentor, I was actually learning how to be a mentor. So it takes a while, but it's also important to have somebody advise you. And in future, you're going to be mentors to many other people. So it's you're growing both ways then, learning from someone and also passing your expertise to somebody else. So very good question, but very important too. And I actually know some groups that do formal mentorship programs. So if you all want to know about those groups, let me know, like add me on LinkedIn and I can share, or email me. And I can definitely share some groups with you all.
Yeah, I think all of us can be mentors as well. So you can find us on LinkedIn and ask us any questions during your academic or post-grad career. I think we'd be more than happy to answer them.
Any other questions?
Don't forget your elevator speech.
Sophie.
Oh yeah,
Not
okay,
gonna let you
okay.
go without it.
So my name is Sophie Chabot. I'm from North Reading, Massachusetts, and I'm an engineering undecided major. And I was first introduced to pharmaceuticals. I did a summer camp at Boston University, and we were able to visit Vertex Pharmaceuticals in Boston and talk to some of the workers there, and I was really interested in it. So,
Thank you. Do you guys have any other questions?
I have a question. Like, sometimes I'm at a career fair, right? And like conversation's going great, but sometimes I'll like finish my like little spiel and they'll just like stare at me and like expect me to say more. Like, what are you supposed to do in that situation?
Are you saying like after your elevator speech?
Yeah, they kind of just like expect you to. It seems like they want you to keep talking and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I would say the first thing, maybe like leave it off in a way where you are kind of inviting them to speak. So either ask a question, that might be, I guess, a little weird, but or being like, and I'm so, grateful to be here to talk to you today. That's kind of a very end, like, okay, now it's your turn type of thing. So maybe something like that would be an alternative, or like I said, ask a question.
Thanks.
I have a question too.
Mm-hmm.
So during your years at school, how did you pay for like graduate school and all the way to your master's? Did you like have financial aid? Did you try to reach out for scholarships? Like, how did you like afford to pay for all that?
A great question. I'm still paying.
Same.
Yeah, definitely applying for scholarships is definitely important. I know that isn't what I did. So I just applied for financial aid, especially for grad school. I found a couple jobs during school. So I worked at the campus rec, and then I worked at that lab for a couple years. And again, it's trying to maintain that work-life balance. Of course, putting schoolwork first. But yeah, financial aid, scholarships, or jobs on or off campus is what I went through.
Yeah, it's a mixture for me too. I did apply for scholarships at my school, but PharmD is just one of those specific healthcare kind of graduate programs where they don't give much. So I applied and got as much as I could from school, and the rest was loans, student loans. And like Ray as well, my research was a job on the side. It wasn't a school affiliation, and then I had some on-campus jobs and things like that.
So I would like to add. So there are certain companies who help you take courses over a period of time. So my company also does that. So it helps us take courses. So my colleague is actually getting his master's degree for free by working in the company, and then he can take evening classes. And then the company pays him because he says whatever knowledge I gain will be useful to you, right? So the company helps you give money towards the course. So look for organizations that are associated with universities, right? So mine is associated with the UMass Medical School. So if you work at a company, they will let you go to any course within the UMass Medical Schools, like all the UMass schools. So look for those companies. Also, the Boston Public Library has a business school which is called as Kirstein Business Library and Innovation Center. They also have certain groups that help you get aid. So I would also look into that.
Thank you.
We have about 12 minutes left.
Any lasting questions?
Any questions on resumes, cover letters, LinkedIn's, informational interviewing, networking? Any question that comes to your mind?
Does everyone have a LinkedIn here? Nods, yes. If we don't, definitely set one up immediately. I would definitely recommend that.
Yeah, it was especially helpful because when I was looking for jobs, so I was at Emulate for a few years, and I found Coro through LinkedIn, and so both setting on your settings for letting recruiters know that you're actively looking for a job, but also just searching companies out there and then doing your research on LinkedIn or Google is important too.
And like we mentioned, it's a great way to network, especially right now when everyone's home. No one can kind of tell you they can't talk to you because we know everyone's home. So use that to your benefit. Just set up 30-minute calls and network with people that way. Definitely make use of that.
And how many of y'all are looking for a job now or would be looking soon?
You guys are on the early train. I like it.
No one?
I think I might be looking soon, but I'd want a part-time because I want to continue with my education. I'm going to graduate from Middlesex in the spring, then transfer hopefully to Northeastern, but I want something part-time.
I see. You reach out to us, like send me like an email or LinkedIn or something, so I can keep an eye for you too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I guess on the topic of elevator speeches, it's I guess important to practice. I know no one's perfect at it, but the more you practice, the better you are and more comfortable you are saying your elevator pitch.
I was wondering if I could ask you one more question, Ray.
Mm-hmm.
So you said earlier that you have like a more of an affinity for startups. What's like the biggest? I don't know. Like I think that sounds really interesting.
Yeah. So for startups, I guess I only have experience with startups. I don't necessarily have experience with big industry. So like Pfizer, Sanofi, Takeda. So when I started Emulate, I was, I think, employee like number 35. And so I was able to know everyone from the GA team to the scientific team. And then just being able to interact with everyone. And so within Emulate, there were multiple departments. And I think it's nice to be able to interact with other departments because I have a biology background. And so with Emulate, there is engineering, there was design, there's microfabrication. So I was able to learn a little bit of these areas as well. So even towards the end of my career at Emulate, I did some engineering work on our system at Emulate. So the system was a instrument that automates flow through the chip. So you have a pod that connects the chip. The pod has media, and then the instrument pressurizes flow from the inlet channel to the outlet channel. So I learned some engineering work there. And then even at Coro, I'm able to interact with all the other teams. So with chemistry, once we test our oligos in biology and then get the data on why it worked, we can discuss with chemistry what modifications on this oligonucleotide is what causes editing. So just having that small size company, I think at Coro I was employee 20. Right now we're at 35. So it's nice being able to start at this early phase and then see it grow over the years. And then just having that impact over time is what I enjoyed about it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think that's a really good question, and that's good that you're looking into details like company size. I think, again, that's very important, and you have to think about that from an employee's perspective. So even through your internships, like, notice that when you're working at different companies, how large are they? How does that affect you in terms of how responsible you feel or what type of work you get, etc. I've generally been at smaller companies too. Not as small, but I think that it's just you get to know everyone, and I think that speaks for itself, and also you get to wear a lot more hats. So I think that you get to grow a lot faster sometimes. Like Ray kind of mentioned, you learn a lot of things in a short span of time versus learning them maybe in a longer period of time.
I guess going off of that as well, I think not only for startups, but for bigger companies, I think for my personal opinion, I think culture is very important. So I think during your interview process, definitely get a feel of how the culture is. So I think startups are more laid back. So at Emulate, our CEO, he was some guy from California. He's pretty into like surfing and skating. So in one of our rooms, he built a half ramp. He got like a ping pong table. When the hoverboards were popular, he bought a bunch for the whole company. So we would just stroll around hoverboards. And then even right now with Toro, since we're actively growing, we're currently in Lab Central, which is an incubator for a lot of small biotech companies. And we're graduating into our own space. So we're actually moving to One Kendall Square. And we just got a tour of the new office and lab space. So I think that's really amazing too. Just that culture is great.
Mine is like a 200 people company. They call it mid-size.
Yeah, I'm about there right now as well.
Yeah, 200. But I do agree, culture is very important. Like connecting with your colleagues and having a good boss is very important, because that boss will help you towards your growth. So when you're going for interviews, make sure you're gonna accept an offer with a person who would be interested in your growth. Because I've had instances in my past where you do all the work, but then the boss takes all the credit. Like the paper, like the name that goes on the paper is your boss's, though you've published all the data. So basically, finding that person is very important, who would recognize you, who would help you grow, and who would like be a good mentor. So
yeah, going off that as well, I've definitely had some colleagues who their mentor weren't as great as mine, and you can definitely see a difference. Just the motivation isn't there, and the stress is higher. For example, my mentor at my previous company was amazing. So she taught me a lot, and she actually put me as co-first author on my first publication, which was amazing. So I got another publication with her. Yeah, just finding the right mentor is important. Two more questions? We get two more?
okay, I'll ask you all then. What are your next steps, Raymond and Divyanka? What do you think your next chapter is now?
That's a good question. So I just joined my company 6.5 months ago. Just graduated last year, so I feel like I'm just getting a grasp of what is going on and where I can really make a change. So I would like to be at my current company, kind of for as long as that challenge is there. And I think afterwards, I definitely want to change into a role where I'm working more in oncology. That's where I came from. My research side was at Dana-Farber, and then Celgene was also oncology hematology. So I really like that space, and I'm kind of far from that. And ophthalmology is good, but I think I'd like to go back to oncology. So definitely want to work at a company where oncology is kind of in the picture.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think you guys will definitely get this "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" question a lot as you go gain more experiences. But I think personally for my self, so I only have a master's right now, but I'm not letting that stop me from what I want to accomplish. And what I want to accomplish, I know a lot of senior scientist level positions in the biotech industry require a PhD, but also years of experience is also important as well. So I think my 5-year goal is definitely working my way up in the company in terms of position. So eventually a scientist or a senior scientist position. And then, eventually being able to mentor junior associates as well. And then, working as a team just to grow with the company as well. And then you, Nidhi,
yeah.
Where do you yourself?
I have no plan. That's why I'm asking you also. I can the answers. It's okay not to have a plan too. I mean, like for years I've struggled when people ask me like, what is your goal? Like, what do you want to go next? Where do you want to go next? I'm like, I have no clue. Like, I'll just go wherever like destiny takes me. Kind of like I had some basic idea, but I was always not somebody like who knew exactly what they wanted to do. I had to actually figure out for myself. So that was a very challenging part. I think I'm still figuring out things. So for me, I think what I'm more interested towards is like having something of my own. So if I were to see myself 5 years down the line, I would not be like working in the lab. I see myself like owning some own enterprise, like working at a social enterprise. So that's where I want to take myself towards. So I'm looking at more opportunities. I'm actually at my midlife career crisis, as you call it. So I'm trying to transition into something else now. But
good luck for that.
Thank you.
But
I'm not sure if you guys would know this, but like, how hard is it to like switch between what you're doing? Like, I know you just said you wanted to like change direction a little bit. Like, is that hard to do in the industry, or like?
I would say it's hard, but definitely don't let that be a stopping point. And why I say that, and that sounds so cliche, I know it does, but actually take that for what it's worth. Recently, I've been interviewing some people who have made recent career changes due to a coaching service that they tried for 3 months, and they're all pharmacists, and they went from a job that they hated, it really affected either their mental health, their family life, etc., to something that was completely different. But most of them tell me this while they're smiling, so they're in such a better place, and they're at a career where they feel more themselves. So that's why I say it's never too late, because these people are like 5 to 20 years within having work experience, and they're pivoting. So it's actually never too late to really change that. So if you go into something and you're at it for a few years and it's interesting until it's not, that's okay, and that's definitely possible. So don't ever rule that out, is what I want to say.
yeah, I totally agree with that. I know it's kind of so I actually enjoy cooking, and I was actually thinking about stopping all the science and actually pursuing a career in cooking, or opening a small business with cooking. But yeah, it's definitely going to be hard transitioning, but if you're passionate about it, then I think that's what will make it easier.
What kind of food?
So I like to meal prep. So I meal prep for my lunches and dinners for the week. Actually, to emulate, I actually meal prepped for some of my coworkers too. So I have like a set list of different items, so protein, carbs, vegetables that they can buy, and then I'll just prepare it at the beginning of the week, and then they'll pay me for. So it's kind of a side hustle at my company. Don't tell anyone.
That's cool. That's a great example of kind of also not having to choose just one thing. I know we've talked about career, and all of us have only talked about maybe one side of ourselves. But I spent a good amount of time not doing my job, and doing either other side hustles or whatever to turn into businesses or just more than a hobby. So you're allowed to have multiple of those things, and it doesn't always have to just go down one path. So always, again, keep that in mind.
Thank you for taking the time out of your day to talk to us.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you guys for the great...
It was helpful. Some helpful tips in there.
Was helpful.
It
Thank
was.
you guys for the
Thank
great
you.
questions. The quality of questions, I was very impressed with.
Mm-hmm.
And we have 2 minutes. But I'd like to ask, like, Megan, Audrey, Sophie, and Gabby, like, what is something outside work that you'd like to do? Like, something that makes you you. What is something that you enjoy outside work? Because that's also important for your growth.
I'll go, I guess. I haven't competed in a while because of COVID, but I've competed as a competitive bodybuilder and bikini competitor. So
You're a bodybuilder.
yeah,
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
thanks.
That's so cool.
Good luck for your career then.
Thanks.
I can go next. So like outside my career, I'm more of like a networking person. So like I have a lot of friends. So I like hanging out with my friends and like going out to eat.
We have 50 seconds. Come on, let's go next. Gabby.
I like cheerleading outside.
And that's a wrap. I hope this was helpful for you guys to kind of get insight this way. I'll try to do more of these things as I have different Zoom conversations with either panelists like this or just other conversations. I'll just try to really capture everything that surrounds my career and everything that I do for it. As always, I hope this video was helpful for you guys. If you guys liked it, be sure to give it a thumbs up. That really helps all the statistics side of these videos. That is it for today's video, and you guys will of course see me in the next one.